welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review Ms.Marvel, Episode 4. Now, this episode picks up directly after last week's episode of the vision of the train that Kamala had, and her grandmother calling her and telling her you need to come to Pakistan. You need to come to is it Karachi? I don't know if I'm even saying the word name right. Is it Karachi? I can't remember the name correct if I'm saying her name correctly. But yeah, I need to come to Pakistan and visit me so we can talk about this vision that they both have. They both had the same vision about this train. Now, and this episode picks up, and her and her mom are on the plane heading out to Pakistan. Now, the way the way they kind of word it is basically like they don't come out and like say it completely, but basically the mom is like my grandmother's getting older. She said that she needed to talk to me. She said she needed to talk to me and you. You know what? Let's go do this, So, like, it felt like one of those, and maybe she can talk to you and understand and get some understanding. By the way, it turns out people do know that she was responsible for ruining for the wedding. By the way, like, they don't know what she was doing. They don't know if she has superpower when she was fighting, but they know something went down, and they know that she's responsible for it going down. As far as they know, she just pulled the fire alarm. As far as they know, but still. She's in hot water. This episode really focuses on shedding more light on her powers or the origins of them, explaining where these clandestines, aka Jinn, come from, and like I've seen a lot of theories already online about it around what, like, is this a multiverse of madness kind of thing? Because throughout the course of the episode, she's catching up with her grandmother. It turns out her grandmother knows full well about the Jinn and all this shit. She knows about this stuff, and she's been talking about this stuff, since she was a little girl, in fact. And actually, it turns out that those stories and stuff were, I wouldn't say that were one of the main causes of the rift between Kamala's grandmother and her mother. And there's some beautiful scenes with the grandmother. First of all, the grandmother is charming. Her entire family are charming. But, like, this is such a well-cast show. Like, everyone is hitting on, like, you like everyone. Is that weird that you just like everyone? And the show is such, like I say, every week I watch this show and, like, for a split second, there'll be some things that remind you it's in the MCU, but, like, it just feels like it's not sometimes. It just feels like it, but sometimes it just feels like it's not. Like, when you're hanging out with Kamala and you're seeing Pakistan, and now granted, they didn't actually film in Pakistan. They filmed somewhere else. I can't remember. I think, what did they say they filmed? They filmed somewhere else, but they filmed in a community of people who were, I guess, Indian or Pakistani. I'm always confused about these different things, but Indian or Pakistani. But they filmed in a community that was like that. So it is technically they did film in an area, in a community of people who came from that area, but they didn't film in Pakistan. But either way, they did such a good job of capturing the culture and capturing that environment, and really, and it kind of hit into the idea too that there are so many people born in America, so many would it be first generation or second generation? I always forget those two. So many first generation, Americans who their parents came from somewhere else, from Japan, from China, from Russia, all over, from Mexico, and they grow up in America, and they don't know certain things because they never grew up where their parents grew up. So there's certain things their parents talk about and kind of mention. It's just that doesn't mean anything to me. Your parent that's the thing about when you have immigrant parents, the good ones are like Kamala and her parents, and the good immigrant parents are like them, where they try to understand you, they try to ingrain themselves in this environment, in this world, and they try to understand that you're not from where they're from, and they try to see where you're coming from. But sometimes it's just when you go back to visit, I just imagine if my parents were both from Africa or some shit, from Africa, and they came over here and had me, and then I was if I grew up with parents who were from Africa and they came over here with me, my experiences and the way I act would be totally different. And then we go over to Africa, it would be and then they want to go visit. there would always be this like tangent of people in that area who are just like, oh, he's American. Like, even the way you talk and whatnot. And there was a bit of that in this episode where, you know, Kamala's cousins would give her a hard time for the way she dressed, for not a hard time, like not a hard time. They just playfully, you know, kind of poke fun at it, you know, because they're not from America. And that's something that would just happen all the time. And, you know, because like, it's a difficulty to balance those two things, which is something from the Ms. Marvel comics, is balancing being, you know, Pakistani and, you know, Muslim, and like being a superhero and from America. And like, that's always an interesting, like, honestly, immigrant superheroes who are from another country and raised here is always kind of an interesting dichotomy of having to, like, even if you're not a superhero, just a person, it's always an interesting dichotomy of having to pretty much like decide to you what matters, what part of your culture matters to you, and what part of, you know, being an American matters to you, and like having to like sort of live in those both lanes because your family is from here but you're from here, and having to like kind of live in both of those lanes at the same time and having to navigate that. It was always such an important part of the Ms. Marvel comic, and I think they did a pretty interesting job of like hinting to that here. But the juice of the episode deals with this group slash, I suppose, anti-hero called Red Dagger. Now, Red Dagger is in the comics. In fact, he was introduced in a Ms. Marvel comic. So, like, this is all, you know, this is all tracking in that direction. By the way, if you've ever watched a Ms. Marvel show, or any of the Marvel shows, in fact, you'll notice that sometimes there's a barcode in the background. There's a barcode, random barcode sitting in the background. If you scan that, you will see the issue. It will go right to the exact Ms. Marvel issue that the Red Dagger was introduced. Now, I believe he was like a cousin in the comic. I can't remember correctly, but either way, Kamala's investigating this train. She's looking for the train. She finds a track that may lead there. She gets attacked by the Red Dagger, and they have a really cool, really fun fight that shows how far Kamala has come with her powers. And I know some people compare them to the Green Lantern because obviously it's literally light creating constructs out of light. But I never felt like, to me personally, Green Lantern to me is like him covered in the green and him flying in midair and flying through space, and the light coming from his arm, like from the ring, and, you know, him doing this pose and shit, you know, like that's Green Lantern to me. Whereas Kamala's a light constructs, they're not actually like, there's like a gap between them. She can make a construct away from her. You know what I mean? It's not like it's coming from her. It's like, you know, like, so when she makes a construct, she like falls on it, or she drops it here or something like that. But it's not like, it's different than the Green Lantern. Plus the sound effect that they have come up with for that, like the hard construct, is very interesting. It sounds like glass. It sounds like someone walking on some thick ass glass, and I love the sound. I noticed it in episode, was it 2? Yeah, in episode 2 when she was walking down, and it was like she was walking down steps and just that clink, 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 clink. I love the sound effect on it. And really just showing that she's getting more and more proficient with using it, getting more and more used to creating them to stop herself from landing hard, creating him to stop stuff, creating a small barrier around herself to protect herself, so it'll show how she can, you know, take punches and stuff. Slowly but surely, her powers are coming into, you know, you're starting to get a good idea for her powers. And I thought about this I think I saw someone say this. It's like, can you imagine a fight sequence with her and Shang-Chi? And I was like, yeah, I kind of can. She can make platforms and stuff. She'd be just bouncing off of them and punching people. Like, the more and more I see her powers, the more and more I like it. And the more and more I start to kind of visualize the different kind of fight scenarios it will be in when she finally starts teaming up with other Avengers, like the Marvels and stuff. Even though we still don't really know what the fuck Monica Rambeau's powers completely entail, I'm getting a bit excited about the concept of what Ms. Marvel could do. And particularly what happens at the end, which I'm still not entirely sure what the fuck's going on. I'm not going to spoil it here. Still not entirely sure. But either way, turns out it was a miscommunication. Turns out the Red Daggers are actually the protectors. They're like superheroes apparently. Like, it's a mantle that's passed down, and like whoever's a Red Dagger is a superhero out in, you know, in this area of Pakistan. But particularly they focus on fighting the clandestines, aka the Jinn, because like, while the clandestines want to go home, they never talked about the price of getting home, which is that if they break down the veil or whatever, their world will come into our world and potentially destroy it, which sounds eerily, almost exactly like the God damn it, what was the called? The incursions that was described in Doctor Strange. The idea that another universe can potentially destroy another universe if they collide together. And the idea, so it sounds like that, but the most likely thing is it's more of a Shang-Chi thing, which I think, like, when she goes into Red Dagger's den, she meets the head of it, and the head of it tells them about the Jinn, tells them about that they're basically they're not really Jinn, they're just, extraterrestrial beings that may be from that may be from an alternate reality that is layered on top of ours. Which, to be fair, Shang-Chi technically I think it's Talao. The land where Shang-Chi's mother comes from is also a pocket universe, a alternate universe that's layered on, our regular MCU universe. And I wouldn't so. It does seem like more in the line with Shang-Chi than the Multiverse of Madness, because it's not like it's because it wouldn't exist. Like, the multiverse technically didn't exist until, like, not that long ago. Though, granted, I suppose it could still exist, because technically the One Above All, aka Kang, was only stopping timelines that involved him being born from happening. So I suppose if it's a timeline that doesn't involve him being the One Above All being born in it, then I don't see why he would have a problem with it existing. So there is potential that because there's a bunch of different ways to take the ending of Loki. Like, I kind of think that there were alternate / all other timelines that were existing on top of the MCU, like that, because you see time as a circle, or at least he sees it as a circle, because he knows how it begins and how it ends. And I think there were other threads on top of that timelines that existed that didn't involve him being born, so he didn't, so clearly he didn't delete them. And I think that universe is on top of ours. It's hard to really tell where they're going with that, if it is a Doctor Strange thing or if it's a Shang-Chi thing, but I think it's going to be one or the other. Either way, we get this really fun car chase scene that's really great and action-packed, funny bits, real funny bits, and then it ends on a cliffhanger that's like, I have no clue where this is going, I have no clue if this is real, is this a hallucination, it doesn't seem like it, can her bangle, does Ms.Marvel, how powerful are they making Ms.Marvel? Which makes sense, because even in the comics, her powers are cool and all, but, scratching their power, MCU likes to kind of up it. That's why they gave Shang-Chi the 10 rings, because Shang-Chi's cool, he can just kick ass, but that's not exactly like, oh man, you're an Avenger, you know what I mean? It's like, no man, this next Avengers team is going to be powerhouses. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Move Show. Please like, subscribe. Oh, I'd give this episode a 9 out of 10, by the way. All this show has been 9 out of 10 so far. I am enjoying the hell out of it. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Move Show. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. What did you think of Ms.Marvel episode 4? What do you think is up with that ending? Is she back? Is it a hallucination? What is going on? Anyways, thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.